Going to a Japan restaurant for the first time? Hi, I'm Mai. I was born and raised in Japan and I travel abroad often, so I know Japan from both sides, as a local and as a traveler. Today, I'll walk you through what actually happens when you eat at a Japanese restaurant, from walking in, to ordering, to paying, and finally leaving. Here are 19 things you should know before your first meal in Japan. 1. Book popular restaurants early. Let's start before you even walk inside. If there's a popular restaurant you really want to try, book it as early as possible. Some restaurants can be fully booked a month or more in advance, and some highly sought after restaurants can be booked out for months. If you already know where you want to eat, start by looking it up on the Google Maps. You may find a reservation link there, or a link to the restaurant's official websites. If there's no reservation option, try searching for the restaurant on a reservation platform like Tabelog. Tabelog is one of the most widely used restaurant reservation platforms in Japan. If a restaurant only accepts phone reservation, you may need to ask your hotel to call for you, or use a reservation service if one is available. And don't forget to check the cancellation policy before you book. 2. Some restaurants are still cash only. Japan is becoming increasingly cashless. Credit cards and cashless payments are widely accepted, but don't assume every restaurant accepts them. Small restaurants, older establishments, and some ticket machines may still be cash only, so keeping some Japanese yen with you is still a good idea. 3. You may have to wait in line. Popular restaurants often have a line. Some restaurants use a waiting list. You may need to write down your name, the number of people in your group, and sometimes your seating preference. Others use a digital queue system on a tablet or your phone. One thing to keep in mind, in some cases, your whole group may need to be there when your name is called. And here's something to know from someone who grew up here. The wait can be really long. At a popular restaurant in a big city, 2 hours or more isn't unusual, and sometimes what means standing outside in direct sun with no shade. So before you join a line, check how the system works and decide whether you're willing to wait. 4. Don't always seat yourself. Once you're inside, don't automatically sit at an empty table. At many Japanese restaurants, a staff member will ask how many people are in your group and show you where to sit. If you're alone, just say, "One please." You can also hold up one finger. 5. Water is usually free. Once you are seated, a glass of water may simply appear. You usually don't need to order it. At most restaurants, water is free. So if you sit down and the staff member brings you water, that's completely normal. And if it doesn't come automatically, just call your server and ask for some. It's still free. They'll just bring it over. 6. You often get an Oshibori. You may also receive a small wet towel called an Oshibori. It's for cleaning your hands before eating. In summer, it may be cold. In winter, it may be warm. And one small thing to remember, it's mainly for your hands, not for wiping your face or cleaning the table. And like the water, it's usually free. 7. It's okay to call your server. Here's something that surprises many travelers. In some cultures, calling out to a server can feel rude. In Japan, it's completely normal. If you want to order, need another drink, or need anything else, you can simply say, "Sumimasen." That means "excuse me." Some restaurants also have a call button at your table. Just press it, and someone will come. So don't sit there waiting for a server to notice you. It's perfectly fine to call them. 8. You don't always order at the table. Now, let's talk about ordering. There are several ways to order at Japanese restaurants. At many restaurants, the standard way is to order directly from a server. But depending on the restaurants, you might also scan a QR code with your phone, use a touch panel at your table, or buy a ticket before you sit down. If the restaurant uses a different ordering system, a staff member will often show you how it works. And if you're not sure, just ask. 9. Some restaurants use a ticket machine.
This is especially common at casual, fast-moving places.
For example, ramen shops, gyudon chains, curry shops, and similar restaurants. Here's how it usually works. First, put money into the machine. Second, choose what you want. Third, take the ticket. Fourth, give the ticket to the staff. Then sit down and wait for your food. One thing to keep in mind, many ticket machines are cash only. So if you're going to a place like this, having some cash is a good idea. 10. A few table manners that might surprise you. Now, let's talk about some Japanese table manners. If you're eating ramen or noodles, you don't need to worry about making noise. Slurping noodle is completely normal in Japan. It's also normal to pick up your rice bowl or miso soup bowl and hold it near your mouth while you eat, instead of leaning down to the table. Bigger plates stay on the table, but small bowls are meant to be held. 11. That small dish you didn't order may be otoshi. Now, here's one that can really surprise travelers. You sit down at an izakaya, then a small dish appears. You didn't order it, and later you seal it on your bill. Did they charge you for something you didn't ask for? Not exactly. It's called otoshi. This small dish is part of a seating charge. It's common at izakayas and usually costs a few hundred yen. So, if a small dish appears without you ordering it, don't immediately assume it's a mistake. It may be part of the restaurant's standard charge. 12. Some izakayas have a one-drink rule. Here's another thing to know about izakayas. Some izakayas, especially smaller ones, have a rule where each person is expected to order at least one drink. It doesn't have to be alcohol. Soft drinks and tea usually count too. It's simply a house rule at some restaurants, not a scam or a trick. 13. All-you-can-drink courses have a time limit. If you're planning to drink, it's worth knowing about nomihodai. Nomihodai is an all-you-can-drink plan. You can order as many drinks as you like during the time limit, instead of paying for each one separately. A lot of restaurants and izakayas offer this, so if you want to drink for a while, just ask if nomihodai is available. Here's the one thing to watch out for. It usually comes with a time limit, often around 19 to 120 minutes. And the last order is usually 30 minutes before the time runs out. So if you want one more drink, order it before the cutoff, not right at the very end. 14. Some restaurants have smoking rules. Smoking rules in Japanese restaurants changed a few years ago. Since 2020, smoking has been prohibited indoors and in principle at restaurants and bars in Japan. So these days, most restaurants are non-smoking. However, some older, small restaurants can still allow smoking under certain conditions. So if smoking matters to you, check the signs before you sit down. 15. Some restaurants have a last order time. Even if a restaurant is open until a certain time, that doesn't mean you can order until then. Many restaurants have a last order time, often shown as LO on the door or menu, usually 30 minutes to an hour before closing. If you arrive right before the cutoff, you may only have time for a quick order, not a full, relaxed meal. So if you're planning a late dinner, it's worth checking the last order time, not just the closing time. 16. Vegetarian options can be limited. If you're vegetarian or vegan, there is something important to know. In Japan, many restaurants don't have a separate vegetarian menu, and sometimes a dish may look vegetarian but still contain animal-based ingredients. For example, Japanese soup stock called dashi is often made with fish, so a dish that looks vegetarian may not actually be vegetarian. Another thing to keep in mind is that flexible customization isn't very common in Japan. For example, you might want to ask, "Can I have this burger without the meat?" Requests like this aren't as common in Japan. So instead of asking a restaurant to change a dish, it's often easier to look for a restaurant that already has vegetarian or vegan options. If you have strict dietary restrictions, it's a good idea to check the menu before you visit. 17. You don't need to tip. Now for one of the easiest rules. In Japan, tipping is generally not expected at restaurants. The price on the bill is the amount you pay. You don't need to leave extra money for good service. In fact, if you leave cash on the table and walk away, the staff may come after you to return it. So don't worry about calculating 15%, 20%, or anything like that. Just pay your bill. 18. Splitting the bill isn't always easy. Traveling with friends? Here's something to know. Some restaurants allow each person to pay separately, others don't. Restaurants may only accept one payment for the entire table. And even if they accept credit cards, that doesn't necessarily mean they can charge 5 different cards for one meal. So before you order, it's a good idea for your group to decide how you'll pay. 19. You can simply pay and leave. Finally, when you're finished eating, there's usually no complicated checkout process. In many restaurants, you can simply go to the register when you're ready to leave. You don't usually need to wait for someone to come to your table. In some restaurants, especially Izakayas, you may pay at your table instead. If you're not sure what to do, just ask a staff member, "Check please." Once you've paid, you're free to leave. And there's one more thing you often hear in Japan. ごちそうさまでした. It means something like, "Thank you for the meal." You'll often hear Japanese customers say it when they leave too. You don't have to say it, but it's a nice and natural way to finish your meal in Japan. Then you're done. So, is eating at a Japanese restaurant complicated? Not really. Once you know how things work, it's actually pretty easy. You just need to know a few things that may be different from what you're used to. So save this video before your trip to Japan, and if you have a question about eating at restaurants in Japan, let me know in the comments. I may cover it in a future video. And if you'd like me to check your Japan itinerary before your trip, I offer free itinerary reviews. The link is in the description. See you in the next one.